Let the script be your guide.
Roll it, please.
We're rolling. Very quiet, please. Speed.
32, take 4.
Action.
We don't want to start counting the times, do we? Having solemn discussions on the subject.
No, we want to do it.
And we will. We shall. Her speech, I think that was really important. Working with Tim Monick to create this Connecticut boarding school drawl. And I think that's also what's kind of brilliant about the two of them, is they're really just young kids trying to be so much more evolved than they actually are.
Cut. Okay.
If they were older, they should just know better, really. I'll say that faster. And I think because they're young and they have all this power and money and attention on them, that's probably the cause of their demise in the end.
Playing with the rayon, I thought we liked it. Correct? That's where we were doing.
Yeah. Okay, so continue. Okay.
Give it a good twist.
So everyone will raise their heads from their sandwiches. What's your line?
A specter is haunting the world! A specter is haunting the world!
We're gonna have live rats there.
Yeah.
Then we'll cut. Then we're gonna put these dummy rats in, which are not live, as you can tell.
But they're not.
And then he's gonna fling them. You could aim for in there, but sure. I don't know. This might be easier.
But depends. I don't know the trajectory of the weight of a flying dead rat.
No, neither do I.
Why don't we rehearse the first part first?
Okay.
Which is just holding up the live rats. And I think we should just shoot it. Why not?
So even better than rehearsing is shooting. Okay, let's put the rats in. And background action. Background.
Action.
A specter is haunting the world! A specter is haunting the world! A specter is haunting the world!
Was biting. It's very superficial. The bite that I got is not on the skin. I didn't break the skin. Will I need a tetanus shot for that? No, I didn't think so.
I don't want to put anything, like I've got antibacterial spray for you, which you can do it when you're done. I don't want you to put that on now, though.
Because it'll sting.
It's going to sting you, but it's also, I don't know what it's going to do to them.
Well, they're dead now.
Okay.
I'm only holding the dead ones.
Well, do you want it then?
No, I can wait until after. Yeah. That's not good.
You know what I mean? If they react differently to
Right.
the smell or the taste or whatever.
I'll
then.
come back to life.
Well, today we have 5 trained rats plus some cooler rats.
Ryan.
Yes, cooler rats.
I'm just gonna get you.
Yeah, they're non-living rats. We're replacing them with the dead ones so he can actually throw them, so it looks like he's throwing the live ones.
So it'll be the same thing, except flinging and running up. Okay, so the whole thing. Rolling. You got speed?
Yeah.
Speed.
39, take 6, pick up. Marker.
Action.
A specter is haunting the world! A specter is haunting the world! A specter is haunting the world!
Totally hit Jelko right in the chest. He got up because he's being a bodyguard, so he got up in the moment, and the rat flung out of my hand. It did not go in the direction I had intended.
I'm so sorry.
You should have caught it.
And rolling now.
Rolling.
76. Marker.
Set.
Background action.
Action.
I need to know where you're going.
Wait and learn. Snokes and swim.
I took it up when I was 15. It's one of those things a girl takes up. I think that Elise has this kind of veneer of an Upper East Side Manhattan woman, but underneath she's very much an artist. As an artist, you're always conflicted with, art and industry. And I think as an actor, you certainly run up against that conflict all the time. And so I think connecting with Elise came to me through that idea of art versus industry.
Take 5. Marker.
Eric is very much that conflict for her is that, you know, she married him, but he's very much a symbol of wealth.
Then other people notice her. Then she marries one of them. Then they go to dinner.
And she is, in a sense, a symbol of art. So I think when you put the two together, there's friction, and sometimes that friction can be amazing, but it can't last.
Packer Capital's portfolio has been reduced to near nothingness in the course of a day. It's okay. It's fine. It makes me feel free in a way I've never known.
Free to do what?
So how many billions together do you two represent?
She's a poet.
Is that what she is? I thought she was a Schifrin.
When Paulo Branco, the producer, asked me if I would do the film with him, you know, a couple of days of shooting, I just was thrilled about it, just wanted to do it. It's a big screen, huh?
Most of the actors would fly in for a couple of days, and of course they're coming in from some context, you know, where they're working on a play or another movie, and they don't know what the rhythm of the movie is. They need me to shape that for them. I mean, basically, I have to deliver to them what the tone of the film is, because unlike the actors who have been there from the beginning, they don't know what the tone is.
They don't even have green screen.
To me, that's fun, because every day, you know, you've got another source of energy, and it's quite different from what you had the day before, and there's no way that you can get bored or blasé about what you're doing.
You know, the first shot we did was a close-up with me making love and having an orgasm. I mean, it's like, okay, you jump into it and you do it, you know, and say, okay, that's a Cronenberg's film. I can do that, you know, and also it's not really getting involved, because this relationship is a business mixed with a friendship. You know, I wouldn't say there's no heart, but my character is kind of playing with him. At the same time, she's jealous. At the same time, she has money to make with his business thing.
Oh, one more question. Is she good in bed? Is she good in limo?
Just when you maybe are settling into a rhythm in the movie, she kind of jolts you out of that. Also, her humor and her sensuality are something that has not been in the movie up to that point. It sort of takes things to a different level for our main character as well, that he would be involved sexually with a very strong woman in the French style, which is to say she's not afraid of her own sexuality, and can mix that with her sense of business, because she's all business in the scene as well.
There's a Rothko in Private Hands that I have privileged knowledge of. It's about to become available.
Each one of Eric Packer's meetings gives us a chance to understand how poorly integrated as a human being Eric is into the world he inhabits. He's solely concerned with acquisition of wealth. He's very good at it, but the idea of actually having relationships with other human beings seems to be very difficult for him.
The Rothko Chapel belongs to the world.
It's mine if I buy it. How much do they want for it?
They don't want to sell it. And I don't want to give you lessons in self-denial and social responsibility, because I don't believe for a second you're as screwed as you sound.
Eric is a character who's got edges.
God, okay, let's go one more time.
Therefore, not necessarily a likable guy. Of course, he has to be attractive dramatically, in the sense that we want to watch him, we want to be fascinated by him. He's a recently iconic kind of guy because he's a mid-20s billionaire.
How much?
There are a lot of those around these days, what with the internet billionaires emerging in the last couple of decades. And what does that do to you as a person to have that kind of success and that kind of power when you're that young and immature?
I remember what you told me once.
What's that?
Talent is more erotic when it's wasted.
What did I mean?
When I came out of the scene, I said, it's a little depressing. I don't understand why am I in that state. But I think it's about this feeling of being lost, this feeling of emptiness. It's kind of interesting to play. And also the way of shooting, because there's this camera, almost nude camera, in this limo, and just the actors. There's the first camera assistant, you know, doing the focus and everything, but otherwise you're totally alone, because the whole crew is outside of the limo. So it feels unnerving for me in a way, because I like the humanity of shooting, you know, when you're sharing with others. There you're sharing with the microphone, you know, David saying, let's do it again.
What does that mean?
It's just, what did I mean?
What did I mean? What did I mean?
Yes.
What did I mean?
I could not really be in the limo with my actors. But I also did talk to them in person because, of course, I was only a few feet away from them. Okay. So it wasn't as disconnected as it can be.
Let's get that actress in here. See if we can figure out what to do next.
Robert, can we get you in, please?
It's very rare that directors now, they're close to the camera. They're mostly controlling everything from the frame point of view and not from the reality point of view, being there at the moment when it's happening. So it changed the whole relationship with the director and within ourselves as actors. It's different. We feel a little left out. But I think my character is so alone and left out. So, I mean, the mixture of feelings of my character and me, Juliet, the actress, is a little mixed.
Inside the limousine is like acting in a canister or a tunnel. And at times, the boom operator was curled up in a ball on the floor, and the focus puller was standing or kneeling on top of him, pulling focus on the camera, which was squeezed in between the two of them. So I think it got pretty hot and steamy in there sometimes, even when Juliette Binoche was not there.
So how much do you think?
The car is so restrictive and uncomfortable. There was room for one person at a time to do the work, whether it was for props or lighting. Only one person could go in at a time. My options were strictly limited. There were very few places from which I could light without being in the shot.
So let me see that spike on your heel if you twist your foot. Yeah. I mean, you were playing with it anyway. So
it was very difficult. And if it hadn't been David, I would have refused it, because I wouldn't have wanted to spend so long in a car.
Very good. Good. Okay. I jokingly said it's my version of Das Boot, which is a movie totally in a submarine. And I also encouraged everybody to watch the movie Lebanon, which is an Israeli film that takes place entirely inside of a tank, because we had some of the same issues.
So let's start with 180 this car. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Of course, the limo is a set, and it had to be modular and come apart.
We bought two cars. One worked as the exterior, and the second car we absolutely gutted because we wanted the shell in order to figure out how we could actually get enough walls wilding in the car so we could get all the camera angles that David might require. The car comes apart in about 21 different ways. We wanted it to be as flexible as possible and give him as much latitude as he would like. So when we first started designing, I'd done a little model that he and I looked at, and I could see him getting quite excited when I started pulling off sides of the model as to how his shots could be. It has a very elusive feel to it, this car. We didn't want it to look like any other interior of a limousine, yet we wanted it to be recognizable. The idea was to put in things that are somewhat familiar, but just off-kilter that you wouldn't recognize them. So in terms of the furniture, I designed the furniture on the inside of the car based on shapes and grills and kind of trims that you'd find on most outside of sports cars and things like that. We changed Eric's seat, which would be a double seat at the end of the limousine, to a single one, into a throne for him per se, because from there he controls everything.
David wanted Robert to be in the same spot always, like in this powerful position of sitting in front of his limo, and I'm like bouncing from one place to another.
Was I expecting you?
And I didn't know whether it could be really free or I had to stick into one spot. So I took the risk of moving around, not doing the same thing always, from one take to the next one. You try and see, you know, it's like animals. They try and they see the limits, and then they have to behave in the limits. But you've got to try and feel the wall there.
Can we move you over a little bit so you're more like where you would really be, sort of more centered, yeah.
If everything was set in different scenes and you could move around everywhere, I mean, I would literally have been going completely loopy. But just having to stay in the seat the whole time, it really forces you to behave a certain way. And it was nice as well having the other actors come in every single time, and none of them were ever as familiar as I was, apart from Jay Baruchel, who was doing it on the first day with me. After that point, no one had been in the limo as much as me. So they came in and had to figure it all out for themselves, and I was always comfortable in my seat, and they could just observe whatever they were doing to figure out their performances, which was nice. Everyone else felt alien in my domain.
All these limos, my God. You can't tell one from another. What's the charm of identical?
That I'm a powerful person who chooses not to demarcate his territory with singular driblets of piss is what? Something I need to apologize for?
I want to go home and tongue kiss my Maxima. My first day, I run into the limo. So I was thinking there's an exterior and an interior. And I called the AD and I'm like, are we doing the exterior or interior? And they're like, oh, no. It's all green screen. They've built New York. And I'm like, all green screen? Does this mean that I'm going to be like jogging in front of a green screen and Robert's going to be on a stool? No. When they say they've built New York, like they've actually built a whole street.
Let's start by doing.
When you're just in a green screen with nothing, you start acting, which you don't want to do. Like, I don't want to start acting, jogging, acting, looking, like all this stuff. So when it's there for you, thank God, you don't have to do it.
David's idea to put most of the scenes inside the car meant that we could do all of this in a very controlled environment. He wanted a really claustrophobic look when we see the outside world from within the limo's windows. There was no way to get this limo outside to shoot exterior shots because if you look at the lighting rig on the limo, it's virtually impossible for it to move other than at a very slow crawl. That meant we had to recreate 47th Street, several parts of it, on stage. And we ended up building a block long of sidewalks, street furniture, and then we had green screen on either side of it where we'll take plates from New York City and the visual effects department will put them in.
Think outside the limits.
There's a whole bunch of driving shots where basically we have to make it look that we're in Manhattan in a traffic jam and rolling slowly and then speeding up and slowing down and stopping and all that kind of business and making sure that it feels real. So we add a lot of reflections to windows and color correct them so that they feel like tinted windows. That's a big part of it all, making it feel like it's real and that they're actually there in that environment. Usually there's probably 4 or 5 different parts to any one key, dealing with hair, dealing with window edges, dealing with extras who are very soft focus outside of the windows. And Wojtek, the visual effects supervisor, was involved in B camera shooting for background plates to match up to all the interior backgrounds. There's always a little bit of manipulation that has to go on in terms of matching the perspectives. But obviously, one of the big things that we have to deal with in terms of making Toronto look like New York City is remove any Canadian references. So a lot of times with the Canadian flag, what we'll do is just key on the red of the Canadian flag and turn it white, so then it just becomes a sort of white flag hanging somewhere. So it becomes, just another example of our surrender.
Oh, also, I didn't know they were going to move the car.
Action.
And then the car starts moving, but not like a normal car. Like people are pushing the car, and me and Robert were like kind of feeling a little seasick.
This happened today?
This happened tonight. I called a source at the Shenzhen.
While running?
While flinging my body down Madison Avenue to get here on time. My friend Jay Baruchel was working before me, so I called him and I'm like, what's it like? And he was telling me a bit about how David doesn't say much, after a take.
Cut. Very beautiful take. Let's do another one.
If he likes it, he doesn't say anything. If there's a problem, he'll say something. And so, if I would not have known that, I would have thought I was terrible on the first day, and it would have been really terrifying. Like, he hates me. I'm in trouble.
Hello.
Hi.
No big trouble. I might have to cue you as to when to start.
Start. Okay, sure.
Because we want to be on his face. And what happens is
We'll find a place for your head to be, Robert. If you just lie down, we'll see if that's the right spot.
That's good. Side down.
It's quite relaxing,
Action.
So you do what? Same routine every day?
Varies, depending.
So it comes to your house. Nice. On weekends.
We die, Jane, on weekends. People, it happens.
You're right. I didn't think of that.
We die because it's the weekend.
One of the things that typifies Don DeLillo's writing is this concentration on thoughtful, clever, stagey, theatrical dialogue. And David has really embraced that.
The way the language is written in the novel, you learn your lines. Every and is important. It's not a there, it's a the. There's a rumor, it seems, involving the finance minister. He's supposed to resign any time now. some kind of scandal about a misconstrued comment. He made a comment about the economy that may have been misconstrued. The whole country is now analyzing the grammar and syntax of this comment. Or it wasn't even what he said. It was when he paused. They're trying to construe the meaning of the pause. So it may be deeper, even, than grammar. It may be breathing. So the whole economy convulses because the man took a breath.
It's a sign of David's respect for the audience that he believes you can make a mature, thoughtful film with real and challenging dialogue without having to dumb it down for a general audience. It feels real. It feels hyper-real in the way that Don DeLillo, I think, intended it when he wrote the dialogue.
Cut.
There are so many long scenes, a lot of which are playing out in one shot. And it was, in a lot of ways, fluke if you get the right rhythm, because it's so obscure, and the right rhythm and the right tone. And generally when it felt right was when, for me, when I didn't know what I was doing at all. And he seemed to pick up on that as well, and always liked those ones. 100% of the time, he didn't want any kind of choreographed performance. He wanted something out of the ether.
Cut. Very good. Very good.
Cut it. Fuck, I forgot a line. It was my favorite line.
Somehow it just works. You can have an actor who's very arrogant and thinks he knows everything. You can have an actor who's so insecure he can barely work. And then you can have an actor who has a healthy skepticism about himself, but still has, underneath it all, the desire to go for it.
Is that where I'm supposed? What is this mark representing?
And I think that's where we were with Rob, and I think that's actually a perfect place for him to come to.
Yes.
As I said to him, you're not going to be alone. I will be there for every single shot. We will get what we need, believe me. If it's hard, it'll be hard. If it's easy, it'll be easy. You're going to be with a series of fantastic actors who will give you a lot. So you will never be left alone to flounder and to try and figure out what's going on. But frankly, by the end of the movie, he really knew what he was doing, whether he was conscious of it or not. And he was just locked in, and we were just doing 1 or 2 takes. You're a bit low on the frame. You can push it. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Action.
You grip the water bottle.
It's that soft type plastic.
You grip it, you're choking.
When Robert says the words, he could say it any way, and it comes out kind of spectacular.
Sexual tension.
Because of this youthful daring in him.
Bad business of Judeo-Christian jogging.
And it works for Eric as well, this billionaire guy who's a kid at his core.
You're sloppy-bodied, smelly, and wet.
He asked me, he's like, did you ever get a prostate exam? No. And he's like, okay, because I don't know, I haven't, and I don't know how to do it. And then David came in and bends over and assumes the position of getting a prostate exam in front of me.
Maybe not to sink so low. The lower down you go, you can't tilt down. I still want you to feel that.
I mean, some girls would be really excited to have Robert Pattinson bend over in front of them. I had no problem with Robert doing it, but David did it better.
Okay, this is just one person shaking it. I have the cameras sitting on a chair so it stays steady. Can we go a little heavier, please? A little bit heavier if we can. Let's give her.
Whoa. So it's not rolling over.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's good.
Okay, cool.
I think that's enough.
All right.
Definitely.
That's great. There we go. It's the post-riot limo. Woo. Of course, it's just 2 of us, but they have a cast of thousands that would have originally done it. So it's taking us a little bit longer, and we have to do it in an artistic fashion. Fascist pig! Genius. Salvador Dali couldn't have done better.
And the reason we have 2 people doing this is because it takes one person to do it and the other person to tell them when to stop.
What a shot. Perfect.
That's exactly where I was thinking it should go.
That one you don't want.
So this is our computer-generated reference. As you can see, we followed it verbatim, but they didn't give us reference for the other side, so we get to use our creative license. Do not try this at home.
We know what the anarchists have always said.
The urge to destroy is a creative urge.
Destroy the past, make the future.
Once we're rolling, when I call rat, you'll be able to hear me call out 3, 2, 1, drop, at which point the effects guys are taking over. Okay, change guys!
This is what the protest is all about. Visions of technology and wealth, the force of cyber capital that will send people to the gutter to retch and die. What is the flaw of human rationality?
What?
That it pretends, sorry. What is the flaw of human rationality?
By saying this, it doesn't mean that I've had a terrible time. I've had an amazing time. However, the environment with which we were shooting in was the most difficult I've ever shot in. People say, oh, what was it like being in all that water for Minority Report and the camera coming up and down? And it was fine. It was water. It was fine. There's something to do with the claustrophobia of being in a car, the heat of the lights, the people on the car. You feel like you're at a safari and the monkeys are jumping on the car and they're going to get in. But then ultimately to stay in character, because she's not fazed by it at all, you know, it was tricky.
This is also the hallmark of capitalist law. Enforced destruction. Old industries have to be harshly eliminated. Old markets have to be forcibly claimed. And new markets have... I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, David.
Okay, that's
It's
good.
completely gone. I'm sorry.
Okay, but it was great up to there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's good.
I'm sorry about that before.
It's amazing, are you kidding?
No.
Now, I heard you saying that the words melt together, that they melt in your room.
Yeah.
That was perfect. They should, and so they should.
Marshmallow toast.
But then sometimes they come out the wrong way. They come back.
Come out melted. Yes, they come out as one congealed mass.
The nerves are insane when you're working with someone who's accomplished and achieved as much as David Cronenberg has. But there's a trust there as well when you see somebody's body of work and you feel very safe because you know what they're capable of, but also then a responsibility because you don't want to let them down. The security of working with somebody who is very comfortable on a set, having written it, it's lovely to work with people who, well, it's not just lovely, it's a dream to work with people who write and direct, you know, and acted as well, because they understand what you're going through.
Basically, we're like that all the time, or did you move around a bit? Not much, not really. His main quality was his stillness.
But I hear, you always hear that in interviews with actors that they don't think the other guy is really very good. It's interesting stillness.
Yeah. He never blinks. Powerful stillness, and he never blinks.
I've heard that as well about people. They're really good because they don't blink.
I thought it was impossible for me because I blink all the time. I couldn't imagine not blinking. But it's true, though. It does give you more power if you don't blink. But then if you start to notice it, it's really weird. Via Kinski, she's emotionally and psychologically such a strange role. Those people who are so in their heads that they barely are existing in their bodies. In other words, there's no normal psychological ground to leap off from. And the lighting is all inside the limo. We couldn't put any outside because it's going to be covered with people. And you can't really understate the challenge of doing scenes totally within the confines of a limo. In Samantha's case, almost entirely in one seat. It takes away a lot of the weaponry you have as an actor.
Okay. I will try my hardest.
I like how the slippers should be in the shot as well.
My slipper.
You have to really deliver from inside, from a very deep place, to really use your voice and your face in a more exclusive way than a normal role.
Action!
The future can never be the cruel and happy place we want to make it. What would happen if they knew that the head of Packer Capital was in the car?
You know what the anarchists have always said?
Yeah, we can start rocking more violently, guys. Rocking more violently.
The urge to destroy is the creative urge.
This is also the hallmark of capitalist thought. Enforced destruction. Old industries have to be harshly eliminated. New markets have to be forced forcibly claimed. And old markets have to be re-exploited. Destroy the past, make the future.
Cut. Nice take.
I think this is the best spot. You spray right here. All right, nice and close to the window. That way it'll drip down and hold